So now that Ford has officially unveiled the F-150 Lightning, how does it stack up against the Cybertruck, and what does it look like for the future of Ford? Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So first of all, I apologize if I'm a little bit fuzzy today. We're actually in the process of purchasing and selling a house, partially because I want to give you all a better experience. This is a very small studio right now. The new house we're purchasing has a huge studio. So anyway, it's going to look much, much better in a couple of months, but in the meantime, it's going to be complete chaos around here. So hang with me for a couple of months and things will work out better by July or August. In the meantime, if you missed my episode from yesterday, you should check it out here. It's on the F-150 Lightning and my predictions for the reveal, which, by the way, I think were reasonably accurate. I do stand by my concerns yesterday that there might be an Osborne effect with the F-150, and I think that's an even more reasonable concern at this point because they are giving a starting price of like $36,500-ish. That's a little bit of a misnomer because if you go online, you can't even find that model yet. That's the commercial product without any real bells or whistles. More reasonably speaking, it's like $52,500 for the lowest price, and it goes up to over $90,000 for the highest price. So it's certainly an expensive pickup truck, but it is also in the realm of Cybertruck, Rivian, and other pickup truck manufacturers that are putting out electric vehicles in the next year or so. So good on you, Ford, for coming up with a reasonable price. Of course, the problem with a reasonable price is that people are going to want that reasonable price, and that's going to mean that there could be way, way, way too much demand. The problem, of course, as I talked about yesterday, is the Osborne Effect, which is that the better this product is and the less expensive it is. So if it's a reasonable priced competition to the current version and it's significantly better and they can't produce it, there's going to be this big valley where there's going to be demand that's going to rise for the new product. There's going to be demand that decays for the old product, which is the ICE version, and there's simply not going to be enough supply for it. So Ford is going to be in for a world of hurt for the next couple of years. That's my prediction. It's going to be very difficult for them to drag their way out of that. Now, of course, Ford does have a little bit of an advantage, which is that a lot of times pickup truck buyers are extremely conservative buyers. They tend to generationally purchase the same brand that they did. If their parents purchased a Chevy before, they'll purchase a Chevy truck. If they purchased a Ford, they'll purchase a Ford, right? And so there's an extreme conservatism with that group of buyers by and large, but that's not true for everybody. I also saw somebody tweeted a response to something else in response to a question that I had. Anyway, the person said that one of the people that he's friends with who has owned Ford F-150s for forever was very disappointed in the aesthetics of the new F-150 Lightning. He said that he really wanted something a little bit different than what they were producing, which basically looks like the old one with a light bar across the top of it. Also, as I suspected, it was really interesting to see the interplay of marketing in the reveal. They kind of pumped it up, but they also didn't pump it up so much that you were like, I've got to have that truck over all else. It was a weird sort of like get excited but don't get too excited sort of reveal. So they were playing an emotional balance that they really need to do because of course they need to keep selling their F-150 ICE cars and other ICE cars while they do this transition. I don't know how well they did. I think people were reasonably excited about it, and it'll be really interesting if they reveal the numbers of how many pre-orders they get. By the way, it's the same as the Cybertruck. It's $100 down to pre-order the vehicle. I also noticed in the meantime that GM put out a bunch of stuff about their Ultium battery yesterday, I guess trying to steal a little bit of thunder. I don't know but if anybody else even noticed it, but I did, and I was like, oh, that's a little pathetic attempt, GM. You know, let Ford have their day and let them do their thing, and you guys can have another day. And I suppose you could argue the timing of Elon Musk's tweet in the middle of the night about the Plaid delivery day on June 3rd could also be partially due to the Ford and stealing some of its thunder. Although, I don't know, Tesla's not usually quite as worried about marketing, but you know, Elon Musk is competitive, so I could see him definitely having tweeted this to take a little of Ford's thunder away last night also. But let's take a quick look at the F-150 versus the Cybertruck in terms of specs and everything else. So first of all, the F-150 has the lowest, non-extended range version is 230 miles, which is very close to what I thought, about 240. They don't specify the battery size, but I'm thinking at 230 it's got to be at least 100 kilowatt hours because it's not the most efficient truck in the world. They do have an extended range version, but it's only 300 miles. It's not greater than 300 miles. And with a pickup truck and all the towing and all the kind of stuff you have to do with a pickup truck, that doesn't seem like a super great amount for the longest range version that you sell. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. I would expect that extended range probably adds another 25 or 30 kilowatt hours to the Ford F-150 battery pack. So of course that does touch off that argument that I talked about in my video yesterday about how they simply are going to have a real problem coming up with enough batteries to manufacture this vehicle. They also are slating 2022 as production and deliveries, initial ones, not late 2021 anymore. Again, I expect probably late 2022 before they have it really seriously ramped. And of course, like I said, they have a commercial version that's about $36,000, but you can't even pre-order it right now. So really the lowest thing you can order, and it's a little difficult because of course they have the stupid dealership model, so it's hard to get an actual price, but it looks like around $52,500 is like the lowest version you can get. Of course, that also apparently has all-wheel drive. I think they said that all of their versions are going to have all-wheel drive, so that will be a dual motor. So the comparison that's reasonable with that with the Cybertruck is the dual-wheel drive Cybertruck, which comes in at $50,000. Now, Ford again says that they're available things like their version of autopilot is available, and also apparently the screen is available, and so it's a little difficult to know exactly what they mean by that. That could mean that it's optional and you're going to have to pay extra for it. But if that's included, and you have to pay an extra $10,000 for the Cybertruck for its full self-driving package, it means that the Cybertruck is either a few $1,000s, like $3,000 cheaper, or it's about $7,000 or $8,000 more expensive, depending on whether you get the full self-driving package. But anyway, in terms of price, it puts the Ford F-150 Lightning and the Cybertruck dual motor at a reasonable price parity. Now, of course, it doesn't look like that's an extended range Ford, so that means that you're going to have to pay more money to get the extended range version of the battery, which will add to the price, which will again make it more expensive. And the Cybertruck, of course, the dual motor gets over 300 miles. As far as the top end is concerned, Ford says the most expensive version will be $94,000 and some odd dollars. It's very, very specific how much money they're charging. Like, it's not $94,500 or something. It's like $94,764 or whatever that value was. Anyway, I'll put it down here. But anyway, that's a very expensive truck. The most expensive Cybertruck is $70,000 plus $10,000 for full self-driving. So that's $80,000. So you can get the fully decked out tri-motor Cybertruck for a good $15,000-ish, $15,000 less than the most expensive F-150 Lightning. So that's a pretty big deal if you're looking at maxed out trucks. As far as acceleration, etc., it's a little difficult to know. Ford kind of says in the 4 range, so it's obvious that they don't have an exact figure yet, or at least they don't want you to know. So we could say 4.5 or something. Now, of course, the maxed out Cybertruck actually is rated to accelerate faster than 2.9 seconds 0 to 60. So that's a significantly faster acceleration on the Cybertruck's part. The maxed out version is rated to 500 plus miles. So that's a significantly larger range, and it has a larger towing capacity. So the Cybertruck really wins on all the specs. The competition is a little bit closer between the dual motor Cybertruck and the dual motor Ford F-150. But if you're going to get the maxed out version, the Cybertruck is going to crush the Ford F-150 in terms of specifications. Then, of course, there's the looks. The F-150 looks just like all the other F-150s, the modern ones at least, although they do have the mega frunk, which, good lord, I mean, that is the most cringeworthy term, but it's the whole front trunk opens up and you actually have a fairly large amount of space in there, which used to be the engine bay. But that and their power-ups for their software upgrades are just like, oh, you know, somebody really should have stopped the people in the marketing department from trying to be cool. They should just call it like a frunk, and they should just call it a software upgrade. They don't need better names for some reason. But anyway, the F-150 looks like a traditional truck. The Cybertruck obviously is nothing like that at all. As I talked about yesterday, the coefficient of drag for the Ford is going to be around the 0.55, 0.56 range, and the coefficient of drag for the Cybertruck is around 0.35. So the Cybertruck again is going to crush it because it has that wedge shape and the closed off back, which is going to reduce the amount of vortices being produced out the back. So the Cybertruck, of course, is going to be more efficient, and it's going to get more range off the same battery pack size. But in terms of aesthetics, I guess there's going to be a certain portion of the market that's going to say, I simply will never buy a Cybertruck because it's just ugly as hell. And there's going to be a certain portion of the market that's going to say the Ford F-150 is like super boring. So it'll be really interesting to see who orders what. I have a feeling there's going to be a traditional segment of the market that will order F-150 simply because, number one, they're Fords, and number two, they look like a truck like everybody's used to. But there is going to be a significant portion of the market that may have been in the market for an F-150 previously and will now say like, yeah, that's fine, but I kind of like the Cybertruck specs, and honestly I think it's kind of cooler looking and it's more modern, so I'm going to go with that. So I think there is going to be some churn, and remember that Tesla doesn't lose anything in the churn because they don't have a pickup truck right now. So again, Ford not only can be losing from their ICE car sales to their eventual EV sales, but they could also be losing to the Cybertruck and also potentially Rivian and other pickup truck manufacturers. And by the way, I'm doing a Twitter poll right now just as a sort of non-scientific way of looking at what people are thinking about pre-ordering. I asked if people are going to order just the F-150, just the Cybertruck, both, or neither. And what I've got right now is 76% of the people just want the Cybertruck, 7% of the people want the Ford, 4.5% are going to pre-order the F-150 and the Cybertruck, and 12% are neither. So obviously in the group of people that follows me on Twitter, and by the way, if you want to, you can check out the link in the description. But anyway, in that group, obviously most people are just getting the Cybertruck. Now, I don't think this is representative of Ford's market, but anyway, it's an interesting little data point there, even though it's a non-scientific poll. So anyway, in conclusion, I stand by what I said yesterday. I think Ford is going to be in for a world of hurt. I think this is a good enough truck that they've created a situation where there's going to be demand for it and people are not going to purchase the current version of the F-150 waiting for the electric version. So there's going to be a really big dip in Ford F-150 sales, which is where most of their profit comes from. As far as comparing the Cybertruck versus the Ford F-150, the Cybertruck wins hands down on specifications versus price. And by the way, when Ford did the reveal, they said that their users, their customers, would have access to the largest public charging network in the United States. That was a little bit of a kind of gotcha in terms of verbiage because they said public, and the Tesla supercharging network is not officially public at this point. So that's how they're getting away with that. So I thought that was really interesting because there were a lot of people on Twitter saying, wait, how can they say that? Well, it's true because Tesla's network is not public officially at this point. But anyway, clearly Tesla also has the advantage in terms of charging network around for charging when you're traveling. But yeah, the F-150 is a worthy electronic pickup truck. No, it doesn't match up to the Cybertruck, but it's a Ford, and there are a lot of people who are going to buy Fords, and it looks like a traditional pickup truck, and there will be people who will buy it because of that. But even so, between the Cybertruck sales siphoning off Ford F-150 sales and the Ford F-150 Lightning siphoning off F-150 ICE sales, it's going to be a problematic time for Ford moving forward. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it fun and interesting. If you did, definitely make sure you like and subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You all are wonderful. Thank you all so much for your support. And don't forget about WeBull, which is a stock and crypto trading platform. If you look in the description, you click on the link and open an account, you get one stock valued at up to $250. And if you fund the account with $100 or more, you get a second free stock valued at up to $1,600. So that is a fantastic deal. Check it out in the description. And of course, don't forget about our merch store, which has awesome t-shirts like Tesla Rockets for the People, Don't Mess with Tesla, other t-shirts, tumblers, mugs, etc. So check out the link in the description. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how clicking on a link and going shopping helps out the channel. Thank you. And in the meantime, don't forget to ask me questions in the comments or at my email address, which is drknowitallknows@gmail.com. Until next time, bye-bye.